Hey everybody, welcome to another week of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. This week we go around the league. We talk about how good the teams in Alberta are doing this year and what maybe some of the other teams need to do to pick it up. We pick on, we don't pick on a couple players. We talk about a couple players. Also talk about the situation in Chicago with Kyle Beach and how strong he was to come out and get these allegations, are not allegations, actual fact that what happened to him in his time in Chicago. So we talk about that, but we also talk about some stuff and keep it light at the end. So have a great week and keep enjoying Orange Slices.
Good morning, Jeff. You look like you're coming from a hotel room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking out at where you were last week. So in beautiful Spokane. So
Spokane. What a junior there.
Yeah, I was actually part of the Spokane Chiefs. I had a cup of coffee with them when Kelowna moved to Spokane in the Western Hockey League years ago.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I was here, and then I got traded to Portland. I mean, that's like arch rivals. So, and then we played each other in a best of 9 in the after we played each other probably 10 times during the season. We played a best of 9 in the playoffs. So.
Hold on, best of 9 in the playoffs? That's ridiculous. Was that just something for 1 year, or I've never heard of a best of 9? What is a best of 9?
Well, back in the day in the Western League, Western Hockey League, yeah, that's what we had out in the West. We had best of 9s. I think 1 year we beat Kamloops 5-4.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
I mean, some of those games, you might as well just, it was like WWF wrestling. I mean, it was out of control. Wow. I don't know what they're thinking, but yeah.
How many years did they have the best of 9? You know?
You know what? It was at least 2 years that I know of. It could have been more. So we played Spokane in the best of 9. We played Kamloops in the best of 9. It was crazy. So. So when I got traded to Spokane, I was injured, and then they made a deal with Portland during the year, and then I ended up finishing the year in Portland. And I don't know if we played them that year or not, but yeah, the Western Hockey League, if it wasn't bad enough driving around for hours upon hours upon hours in the back of a bus, you got to play these guys 9 times in the playoffs after playing them 10 to 12 times during the year. Yeah, it was good times.
Those buses back then, they were just normal seats, right? They didn't have like beds in them or anything, did they? Just normal seats.
No, I think Seattle had a bus that was pretty nice, but ours were just normal seats. And then when they really spruced them up, they'd take every other seat out so you could lay on the floor.
Oh my God! For the best of 9.
Yeah.
The best of 9 in 8 days. That's probably what they did too. Best of 9 in 8 days.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there was some 3 games and 3 nights in there. I mean, just think if you ran out to a 3-0 lead, like you do that now, it's pretty much over and out. It's like you still had a long ways to go.
Yeah, you still got 2 more games at least. Oh Jesus Christ! Well, things have changed. That's awesome. I love those stories when you bring up things like that. It just makes me laugh. I didn't know. Also, before we move on, I didn't know that the Kelowna Wings became the Spokane Chiefs. Huh?
Yep.
Same owner, or did they sell it to somebody? What happened?
Yeah, they ended up, I believe, selling it, and they changed everybody out. And then I believe they it was multiple times it got changed hands again. But when it came out of Kelowna, I don't know if the owner had it in Kelowna kept it for the first year or not, but I believe if they did keep it for the first year, shortly thereafter it changed hands. And it's still pretty strong franchise here in the Western Hockey League.
It's big time. The owners back then were a little shady too, right? They were a little greasy as well. So yeah. And now it's owned by people that actually want to make money. Let's get the 800-pound gorilla out of the room. Last week it all came down. John Doe is no longer John Doe. Things in the NHL have changed. things stayed the same in Winnipeg. General manager out in Chicago, coach out for the Panthers. What a mess. Feelings on this? Let's get it out there and put our feelings on this and then move on, which I'm sure we want to, and I know other people would like to as well, especially the people that were involved. So let's do it.
Yeah, it's Kyle Beach is a player with the Blackhawks. It obviously was really tough road for a young man to come into the league, and basically, it's a sexual assault, and there's really no way to dress this up other than it was just a travesty that this happened to anybody. But in professional sports, he came forward after he had unwanted advances, and basically it was during the playoffs, and it got swept under the rug. And 11 years later, he's finally coming out and getting this out in the open, and people are obviously shocked. Now, I can tell you that things have changed a whole bunch. I played my days in the game were well before Kyle's were, and we had some stuff back then that you just, would shake your head and think about today. There's no way that kind of stuff would go on. So the game has cleaned up a lot. Obviously, we see with this instance that it still needs to be cleaned up more. And when you have the courage to go and talk to somebody or bring something up, it's the old words, see something, say something, and he said something, and it wasn't addressed at the time. And I can't imagine what he's gone through, and there's other people out there doing the same thing, and finally this came to light, and I think that's the most important thing, is that, this is getting addressed now, and the fallout is going to be significant and for some time to come.
Yeah, there's going to be fallout, but you know what? Predators will always be out there, and we have to keep an eye out for them. And you can't. The only way to get rid of predators is to shine the light on them. So if something happens, it can't be covered up. It can't be pushed around. We got to have people that are at the top posts that will do the right thing. And we all know power is a scary thing to be around. Like there's guys that always have power over you, and that's what happened to Kyle. He got, just the people held power over him. He wanted to play in the NHL, and that's the sad part. He was a tough young man, but it doesn't matter how there's always somebody that's got something over you with power, and you have to say something, and the people on top have to be powerful. And it blows my mind that everybody didn't want to call any attention to it over a goddamn video coach. That's what just like you couldn't have found somebody else that would just watch games. Shut up. Very disappointing in that whole thing. Chicago is such a great organization, and it's going to be a huge black eye on them for forever. They're going to be the team that didn't do anything. So it's sad. It's very sad. So
we talked about young people and athletes in particular who you see on TV all the time. Sometimes feeling that that if you in sports, if you come out and say something, you show that you have maybe you're considered soft, and in this case it's anything but soft. I can't imagine the amount of courage it took for him to come out and say, listen, this is unwanted and this is wrong, and I'm bringing it up to my superiors, and it just nothing happened, and it's just a real shame. And so now we get conversation going. That's how we fix things, and I hope he's a guy that has shown incredible internal fortitude, and now he'll hopefully there's more change to come, and people in pro sports and in other places say, hey, you know what, this can get worked out after a while, but a lot of pain and suffering in between 10 years or 11 years ago and now. So good for him. And
right.
Like I said, the fallout's going to continue, and they're going to need to just eradicate this stuff. And like you said, it's easier said than done, but there's a lot of spotlight on this now, and that's what needs to stay that way.
Yeah, and his saying something helps out, and then people are like, well, how does that help out somebody? Well, he says in one of the things, the girls from the USA gymnastics team saying something helped him have the courage to say something. So him saying something will help somebody else say something, and that's the only way that this will, it's behind. You can't hide it. It's done. We got to take these predators down, and hopefully we'll never have to talk about this again. But sadly, we know we will at some point. Somebody, that's what those people do. They're called predators for a reason, because they're always hunting. So let's move on and let's love the game. Kudos to Kyle Beach for being strong enough to say something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, we're gonna take a left turn right here. Boom, we're gonna get out of that, and we're gonna talk about the Calgary Flames. Calgary, another one of those teams that we didn't expect anything from, and Daryl has got them going harder. So what do you think? I don't know. That goaltending's coming together more this year for them. With what's his face. I think some of the stars are kind of maybe scared of Daryl, and they're playing.
It could be, Daryl, obviously his track record speaks for itself with this Stanley Cups in LA. He has he spoke about the past of working in Calgary and how he owes the organization a debt of gratitude and what he is trying to do up there. And that's, to make things right in his mind. And that's have a very successful team and a run at the Stanley Cup again. One of the things that coaches always said to me, and I think about Daryl all the time when I hear this, is defense is hard work, and everyone can work hard. And that is what Calgary's done. They've got a lot of timely goal scoring. They've got some guys that have come out of the gate, shot out of the gate like a cannon. Mangiapane is a great young player, wears number 88 for Calgary, real gritty player. Was part of Team Canada World Junior a few years ago. And then they got Lundholm that plays center for him. Lindholm. Lundholm's in Anaheim. Lindholm, who they got from Carolina a few years back. Great player. Kind of reminds me of a right-handed William Karlsson. Those two guys are just fantastic players. He's lighting the lamp. And they're getting great goaltending from Markstrom, and their team's rallying. So right now, two teams that, Edmonton's always got some buzz around McDavid and Draisaitl, but the two teams in Alberta right now, Calgary and Edmonton, are off to a great start.
Absolutely.
And they will be competing with each other all year to see if they, there's a lot of competition in that province between those two. It's good for the game, and it's fun to see.
It is good for the game when both of those teams are strong. When one of them is weak, or both of them are weak, it's not good for the game. Also, Lucic, just like a cement truck, just kind of floating around there, just not getting above 35 miles an hour, but just doing his thing. So it's kind of cool watching him. We'll go to Edmonton now. We'll go to Edmonton before we go to Carolina and then Montreal. But Edmonton, kind of impressive. I've been getting some flack on the social media. Oh, you're so mean to her. You're so mean to the Edmonton Oilers. You're so mean to the Edmonton Oilers. Well, suck it up, princess. Sometimes you got to be mean to a team to get them through. But I still think goaltending is going to be their what they have to fix, right? Right? Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, you know what? That's when I watch them play, and my question in Edmonton is, what are you going to do? They probably could use a little bit more help, a little bit more depth on defense. And is Koskinen and Mike Smith going to be able to get you to the promised land? And, in fairness to Mike Smith, over the last few years, he's played really well. And even in the playoffs, he's played really well. I don't know. I guess because he's a little bit older, maybe people are like, we need someone else. There could be some people that could become available. I mean, wouldn't it be ironic of the way Chicago's going if they swung a deal for Marc-Andre Fleury down the road? But I think Edmonton, when I watch them, where they get into trouble is a little bit of depth on D. And if their goaltending stays the way it is now, they look good. But, it's funny. Edmonton will beat you 6-5, where Calgary wants to beat you up and beat you 2-1 or 3-1, right? So, but they're getting some depth scoring up front from Edmonton, which is something they've been longing for years. and very exciting actually in Alberta with both those teams. And I'll get to see Edmonton live. They're going to be in Vegas U.S. Thanksgiving weekend on 27th. So
American
I'll give you, American Thanksgiving. So I'll give you a report on them. And I don't know when Calgary comes through, but I watch those teams. Impressive, both of them.
I think also righting the ship in Calgary with finally getting a coach in there that they're going to be around for a while. You know, they've gone through a lot of coaches in the last couple of years, so and I don't think Daryl's going anywhere for a while. Who do you trade for Flurry? Let's put it out there. Let's just start this rumor. Edmonton is shopping for Flurry. Who do they give up?
Well, that's an interesting one because obviously there's a bunch of turmoil in Chicago. So my thought in Chicago is, especially the way they've started, what are they, 1-8, 1-7 or something?
1-8, 1-9.
Yeah, 1-9. It's just been awful. So you're not going to dig yourself out of that hole. Not in the Central Division. There's no way. Plus, you'd be looking right now for them to get a wild card spot, and I just don't see it. So you're going to have multiple moves out of Chicago. I think the GM is going to need some time. Obviously, with Flower, depending on where he goes, if he'd agree to go anywhere.
You have to agree, right?
Yeah, he'd have to agree. I think he can give him a 10 teams he won't go to. But one of the things about Chicago is for them to maximize value, not only for Flurry if they decide that, and he decides he wants to go. Taves and Kane say, those guys are foundation pieces. Chicago is going to have to hold money back, and that's how they're going to maximize their return. There's nobody out there that can take, or very few that can take a $10 million contract, or even in Flower's case, which is $10 million is Kane and Taves, or $7 million what Flower makes. But I'll tell you, what a buzz that would create if he ended up going to Edmonton or someone like that was, what everyone was always, with that pedigree Hall of Fame guy, and the buzz around the team that he would create. And I'd say the same thing for Taves and Kane. If they ended up agreeing to move on, they would create a heck of a buzz too. So I don't know what's going to happen in Chicago, but it's just not good. And the new general manager is going to we'll have to see how
he's
much
he's only interim as well, right? So he's not doing anything right now. I don't know who's going to end up there, but it's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and is the ownership going to let him make any moves, right? And that's the question. So,
I would say, if I was the ownership of Chicago, I would say let's gut this horse right now because we are in trouble. We're not winning. We're in the press bad. Is it going to get any worse? Like everybody hates us now. Just like get rid of Taves, get rid of Kane. Just dump all. Make your tough decisions right now. I would say this is the perfect time for them, right?
Yeah, you just don't want to exacerbate your problems. You got so many. Yeah, sure. I just think you got so many problems in Chicago. And you got to work through it. And, Duncan Keith was interviewed this morning on Sportsnet up in Canada, and he declined the interview on the Kyle Beach case. And he regrets that. But he said, what? Yeah, he said, the day I got traded, they called me, I had a lot of emotions. And he says, I look back on it, and he goes, I regret it. The thing I'm getting at there is the guys that were in Chicago at that time are going to be tied to this. And the question is, where does it go from here? And as they try and work through this and, turn things around, where do those guys end up going? Do they stay? My guess is ultimately that, that they probably move them on at some point and they try to get a fresh sheet there in Chicago.
That's when you go to teams. That's when you go to teams that don't ask many questions. So that's the time you bail out of. Oh, I'm going to go to Anaheim because they only have one reporter, there. You know what I mean? So yeah, you make those jumps and go to finish her out there. Yeah. Speaking of Italians, Luciano Cosmare, he always says to me, he goes, as soon as a goaltender leaves Toronto, they really blossom into a Stanley Cup champion. And this year, I think Toronto Maple Leafs might be upset about Freddie Anderson going to Carolina. Carolina, there was questions on whether they made the right move, but people can't be questioning it now. He is having a beginning of the season that he must be enjoying quite a bit.
Yeah,
Carolina,
yeah,
Carolina,
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 sweet,
Carolina.
sweet Caroline. I guess that's a song by Neil
Yeah.
Diamond, but it should be Sweet Carolina because they're a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, they play in a tough division. They've been in the playoffs last few years. Their goaltending is something that they wanted to address, and they brought in Freddie Anderson, who, don't forget, he was in Anaheim, and he was unbelievable in Anaheim. Then he came to Toronto as a savior, and they got down on him. Now
As
we
they
got our
do.
friend Jack. Yeah, we have our friend Jack Campbell there now in Toronto. But
And they want him to help work.
yeah, if they lose tonight to the Golden Knights, and they'll want him gone too. But really tough place to play, and I know you got to be a special kind of person to play in the media spotlight, and I blah 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 blah. I get it, but I just think sometimes it's just so overwhelming that I think some of these guys have a hard time being able to clear their minds. I mean, even you look at like guys like Marner and Matthews; these guys are top elite players in the NHL, and even they have their struggles there. So he'll go to Carolina. Freddie Anderson did, and he plays free, and he plays for a guy in Rod Bindamore that everybody loves to play for. And I think the one thing when I watch Carolina is their identity is there's no guesswork. They're coming at you. They're going to play as fast and as hard as they can, and there's not a lot of. I don't think there's a lot of guys going to the rink in Carolina wondering what their role is or how the team's going to play or what. And of course they don't have the press that Toronto or Montreal does, but you know what they're starting to do there now, and you brought this up yesterday to me while I was walking around LAX, is they are starting to fill the building in Carolina, and it's amazing what winning does and creating a culture of excitement and fairly entertaining, right? Like they try to be entertaining. So good for Carolina.
These NHL teams have, and I think Carolina's got it very well. And I think sometimes Vegas and some of the new, and maybe even Seattle, and some of the teams might skid out on is you have to sell the game for fun to your next generation. So if there's no fun for the kid's not going to want to go, right? So now you've lost your next generation of ticket sales and fan. So, and I think Carolina brings the kids into wanting to do the title surge or whatever, where they do the surge afterwards, or or they throw candy into the crowds. You got to do that. People are like, no, it's a business, and you got to keep growing it and doing things that make the kids laugh and make the kids have a good time. Yeah, sure, there can be some adult stuff with a kiss cam or a handy cam. But if the kids aren't having fun, you're losing it. And also you got to have things that are affordable for a family. Like some of these teams way over, like popcorn should not be $20.
Yeah, Bud Light shouldn't be $18. I agree. Yeah. If you want to have a cocktail, but a bottle of water shouldn't be $9. But it's funny when you're talking about that. I think about in these markets, like let's take Toronto, Montreal, or you could throw Boston in there, maybe throw them in there, and maybe Minnesota, where in the States where these are big, these are big hockey markets. There's a ton of kids playing now. There's a ton of kids in Vegas playing now too, but I just when I look, and I'm guilty of this, I don't go to the game, or at least when I first started going to them again and I got out of the game, wasn't going to enjoy. I still go to critique, but I go to enjoy it more now. And I think because there's so much history and hockey is so embedded in some of these communities that people are going, I don't know if the word's to critique, obviously they're going to enjoy and watch the game. But whereas in Carolina and Vegas, people are just going to have a good time. They're like, yeah. And, and people are learning the game in Vegas. And they're learning the game in Carolina because the game's growing there, but just the introductory to the game was different. And we grew up in Canada. We didn't know anything different, right? The game was right there for us right from the start. Some of these other cities where the game's getting introduced to the parents and then the kids, it's like, oh yeah, like you say, it's just entertainment. They're going for a great time versus, and I guess it's just a little different way how they got there. And I'm not expecting Toronto or Montreal or even Boston or Minnesota to change the way that they look at it or do things. But I think that's why, some of these markets, it's not historically been a lot about hockey. And so people are going more as like, hey, this is entertainment. We're going out for a night in the town. You know what I mean? And versus, hey, we're going to critique or watch a game. So not sure that made a lot.
No, it made sense. People brought up somebody brought up the other day, Peter Puck with me, and how much fun that was, and how the league hasn't brought him back. And it just doesn't make sense that they don't bring something fun like that. I remember Howie Meeker used to do his thing in between periods where he would teach something about the game. We need that kind of stuff. It can't be just pushing stats and man, like you said, right now there's just like, bring the fun in. Show what Freddie Anderson does in the afternoon, where he goes out and he jumps on his trampoline for 4 minutes, or something, something stupid like that. It can't always be stats and stuff like that. So.
No, you're exactly right. And we go back to it all the time, but we talk about Shaq and Charles and Kenny the Jet and Ernie on TNT and the basketball. Those guys are hilarious. And I'm not saying you got 2 periods, so you can wind those guys up and bring your crew in for one or first or second period, but you could use the other break in a hockey game to maybe just spend 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, a little clip on, a part of the game or something, breaking it down so people get a little bit better understanding. But we're all about these numbers and all this other stuff now in the gobbledygook. And it's like, it's like football. If football is always won in the trenches, you can have all the numbers you want. The trenches is where it's won. It's the same in hockey. You know what? The team that works harder defensively is normally the team that ends up winning. That's in the trenches. That's the hard areas of the ice.
Yeah, and I know that they're trying to sell it towards gambling a lot. Like they got the sensors in the pucks. Now they're putting the sensors in the jerseys. And they're going to be in the sticks at some point, where you can, how many shots did he have? How much time was he on the ice? You can gamble on everything like that. But at the end of the day, if the game doesn't have another generation, nobody cares about the gambling, right? So
that's right. And you know what? And it's okay to go out and try something that doesn't work to entertain people. Obviously, they're going after the money and gambling. But I'm with you. There's nothing better than going to a game and seeing a ton of kids in there having a great time. They got the music on. It's like a nightclub during the day. And the other night, one of my friends went to the game. Vegas played on the 29th, which is Nevada, or observed Nevada Day, against Anaheim. And we'll talk about Anaheim, just one of their guys before we leave too. But it was a 5:00 game. I had all kinds of kids in the building. It was unbelievable. And, that's what you kind of want to, you want to grow the game. You got to get to if you can get your demographic from the grandparents to the kids, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to go, you don't want to pinpoint. You want to go you want to shotgun it. Okay, let's go to Anaheim. Anaheim, you are in love with a couple players there. You're just like screaming every time I talk to you. You're like, oh my God, it's so fantastic.
We don't talk about Anaheim a whole bunch, and we got to get out to some more teams in the East as well. We'll get going on them in the next week or two. But I want to talk about 2 guys in Anaheim. Number one, this kid named Troy Terry. I got to tell you, I haven't seen too many players
American
with hands
kid, right?
like this. Yeah, he kind of struggled a little bit. They kind of, they want a lot from him. Man, is this guy good? Troy Terry, kid to look out for. And then the other guy I'll talk about at the end. So, but Anaheim, they're in between, right? Like you got the best quote about Anaheim, so I'll let you have that. But they're in between. They got some really, really good young players, though.
I think they're like their jerseys. They're just so boring. They could have everything, but instead they just use brown. So Anaheim's got to just pick it up the pace a little bit, like we were just talking about. But they have some great players there. They have those, Baldy McGee is still playing there. Well, he's like. Gets laughed.
You're such a donkey.
Getzlaf is awesome. He reminds me of Kelly Buckberger. He's got that helmet on and then he takes it off and you're like, whoa. You're like, shocking. Ooh, I didn't know that guy was that old. But he's still there and he just scored, I know. What did he score the other day? His 500th point? What was that? What did he do?
Yeah, he just passed Teemu Solani. So thanks a lot. I'm just going to take it right into shout outs from there. So, today we're just going to go to shout outs because I got to get going too.
Jeff's got to fly a plane. He's going to be giggling. He's going to be giggling the whole time he's flying the plane.
I'll be hitchhiking out to the airport here in a couple of minutes. But so we'll do our shout outs now. Obviously, we're talking about Getzlaf. The other night in Vegas, Getzlaf played 23 minutes. I love watching this guy play. Depending on what happens in Anaheim, if they can make a run for the playoffs, we'll see. But I do expect him, if they don't, to have a chance to be moved. This guy is unbelievable. So much fun to watch. He's such a character out there. He's played so long in the league. No one goes near him. He does what he wants. 23 minutes was incredible. So shout out to Getsy the other night. Past Teemu Solani is the all-time points leader for the Anaheim Ducks. And then, of course, another shout out to Kyle Beach, because we talked about him earlier, and I think it's just worth pointing out, how strong this guy is and how much we've got to support him and people that come out and say, hey, this is wrong, and just keep pushing until things are made right. So that's what I have to say today. Shout out to Getsy and Kyle Beach, and leave the rest to you.
Very nice. The Kyle Beach, Ryan Getzlaf, big shout out for them. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to give a shout out to Southern California Edison. What a bunch of Jesus. So mad at these people. So they want me to we're gonna they want me to pay more to use less. It doesn't make sense. They're taking my bill up and they're like, or you can just stay with your old plan that was $40 less. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Either I can't use power between 2 and 6 and it costs me more money. And then I'm just like, oh, come on, guys, just get it together. So big shout out for Southern California Edison, just fucking being a bunch of donkeys. And at the same time, let's go to Montreal for sending Caulfield down to the minors. I have no idea what's going on. My shout out to the week, Mark Bergevin he's got his head up his ass. I don't know what he's doing. It's just what a mess in Montreal. And we know Brian Almy, our producer, loves that team, and he must just be tearing his hair out because it's just a mess there. And shout out to Montreal.
Love to all.
Hey, everybody, that was another episode of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. Good times there. Make sure you rate, like, and review. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on the old Twitter. We're going to start up a Facebook group, too. So make sure you tell your friends. Thank you. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube or Facebook. Have a good day, everybody.